Hi, so I'm James Blackwells from JB Commercial Finance here. Now it's Monday, the 11th of May 2020, and we're now several weeks into the Corona Business Interruption Loan Scheme, known as CBILS, and a week into the Business Bounce Back Loan Scheme, known as Bubbles, should we call it. And it's a good time to reflect on that and give some formal thoughts for a couple of moments. So the CBILS scheme, which was launched on the 23rd of March, has to all intents and purposes been a bit of a failure. This scheme was initially designed for loans between £5,000, £5 million. That's no longer the case. And from the hundreds of thousands of inquiries, which has led to around about 60 to 70,000 applications, it's been approximately 30,000 acceptances, with an average loan size just shy of £200,000. Clearly, this hasn't helped small businesses the way the government were intending. There are a number of reasons for this. First of all, a bit of confusion about scheme itself, who can apply, restrictions of the scheme itself, and the biggest failure really is the administration of the scheme, which has been done almost exclusively by high street banks. Now this scheme has changed in recent weeks. A couple of new alternative lenders, the likes of Funding Circle, Fleximise, Asset Capital, have all been accepted under the CBILS panel, and there's now over 60 lenders on it, so that should be very encouraging. Funding Circle, the biggest alternative lender in the country, have struggled to get deals out the door. They seem to have some systems issues which are causing lots of declines, unfortunately, and the other lenders are struggling to get their systems up straight as well. So we've got a long way to go for this to be anything like a success. Now, in response to this, the government launched the Bubbles loan scheme, the Bounce Back Loan, which launched last week on Monday, the 4th of May. This was a scheme designed to take the lower end of the marketplace, so loans anywhere between £2,000 and £50,000. It was going to be a straightforward two-page assessment, and there'd be no ongoing viability checks of affordability of the loan, which is the distinct difference between this and the CBILS loan. Also, there was a fixed interest rate of 2.5%, which for anybody who knows business lending is astonishingly cheap money at the best of times. Rather unsurprisingly, there's been an enormous amount of demand from this scheme. A lot of it is from people who were turned down by the CBILS. A lot of it is from people who thought, actually, I don't want to go through the hassle of a CBILS application, but this looks very straightforward. And also, there's been a lot of people who are effectively speculating with this money, taking it now while it's there, easily obtained, without personal guarantees, and it's affordable. So we have led to over 100,000 applications in the first day on May the 4th. And now we're in a position where over 200,000 people have actually been, or businesses have been accepted for this loan and have drawn the money down. It seems that Lloyds have played a bit of a blinder, to be perfectly honest with it. It seems that Santander have done pretty good. HSBC a bit up and down, but they are the only high street bank who accept the applications from non-customers. And Barclays and NatWest have had some difficulty, but it's still pretty much exclusively a high street bank deal. And it seems to be on a platform which is all automated, which is very, very good to get the money out, but also means that due diligence isn't going to be light. And when it comes to actually getting this money repaid, there may be some issues. So what can we draw from the first few weeks of these schemes? Number one, CBILS has been a failure. There's still time for it to turn around. Alternative lenders have come on board, and now CBILS is exclusively 50,000 plus. It may well find its own place in the market. Secondly, the Bounce Back Loan Scheme proved incredibly popular. A lot of money has got out there in a week, absolutely phenomenal amount of money, I should say. People who have been turned down for business loans for years and years can now find money accessible, and accessible at rates they could only dream of. Number three, the Bounce Back Loan Scheme is potentially a disaster waiting to happen. This money is being sent out with minimal due diligence, where the first year of interest and capital were paid by the government, and at a very low interest rate with no personal guarantees. What could go wrong? And number four, this is going to influence the lending marketplace for businesses for years to come. Lenders who weren't on the CBILS panel initially had to go to ground because they were having increased defaults and they weren't able to actually get any money out in the marketplace. Lenders who are on the CBILS panel, including the high street banks, are so busy from it they can't do anything else. So the Funding Circle, for instance, have had hundreds of millions of pounds over the last few years, and now a CBILS exclusive lender. Who would have thought that coming 3 months ago? Property obviously has taken a massive hit. The amount of money people will lend against property, the loan to values, has gone down dramatically, and certain properties are seen as higher risk. And that, with the overall contraction we're expecting in commercial property investment, it's going to lead to this hanging a cloud over the investment market for years and years to come. So it's naive to think that the landscape hasn't changed through COVID-19 and the way that businesses raising finance is going to change, because it has already, and it will continue to do so. CBILS has got another few months to go. The bounce back loan scheme has got until the 4th of November 2020 at a minimum, and it's highly likely the government will actually increase this to keep with demand. The crux is going to come when some of these loans have to be repaid in 12 months' time from now. What will the initial default rates be? It'll be really interesting to see in the middle of May 2021 how many first payments have actually been missed on bounce back loans. So I'm James Blacklaws. This is a very brief overview of the government support to date with regard to lending to small businesses. There'll be more to come. Any questions, any comments, any opinions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll happily get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much.